Well, the former host of Sunrise, David Koch, has thrown the Logies into turmoil after ranting on social media about his former show not receiving any nominations. Next to a screenshot of the nominations for the Ray Martin Award for Most Popular News or Public Presenter, Kochie noted that both the hosts of the Today Show, well, one host and one ex-host, were nominated, but not the high-rating hosts of the Channel 7 breakfast show. Kochie then laid it out, saying, "A couple of facts you may have missed. Sunrise has won every single day this year. Sunrise is averaging 424,000 viewers daily. That's up 4% year on year, while Today is averaging 308,000, minus 3% year on year. This has been going on for years. If you ever complain, you're seen as a bad sport. But now I'm out of it, I can say TV Week Logie Awards, honestly, WTF." Seems like a good point to me, but 9 newspapers, shock horror, were having none of it, with an opinion piece in the SMH and Age by Louise Ruggendijk calling out Kochie and Seven, telling them to get their facts straight. And the hypocrisy here is wonderful when we're talking about getting your facts right. Ruggendijk writes, "The Logies are a popularity contest. Ratings have very little to do with nominations, as they were removed as part of the voting requirement this year in an attempt to create a fairer playing field for the broadcasters with a smaller audience and for streamers who were unable or unwilling to supply audience data. Judges, who are made up of industry experts, were instead asked to consider the nominees on selection criteria and audience engagement, which is not based on data, more of a vibe." There's just one problem. In the news category, ratings data is supplied and is a factor when giving your score. How do I know? I was a judge in the news category. Then comes this perler. That change has worked, as across the best categories, there is now a broader selection of shows and new faces nominated across all streamers and broadcasters. SBS, which traditionally has the smallest free-to-air audience, saw its nominations increase from 2 in 2025 to 8 this year. So just because Sunrise is winning the ratings doesn't mean it's considered the best. Sure, people are watching, but are they invested enough to vote? Are the presenters just doing their job, or do they have a broader story to tell and will engage viewers and voters? This shortlist that Kochie's talking about has nothing to do with the public vote. In fact, none of the nominations we have at the moment have anything to do with a public vote. The networks put forward their people and the judges award points, which ultimately gives us the final nominees that go to the public vote. And let's be clear, for all of her talking about the best category and the justification, well, Kochie wasn't talking about a best category. Let me bring up his post again. He specifically included a shot of a category labelled most popular. So there goes that argument. But this next part is possibly the part that needs the biggest fact check of all. She says, if we were using Today hosts Carl Stefanovic and Sarah Arbo, who were also nominated in the categories Koch complained about, as an example, you have 2 hosts with a story to tell. Stefanovic's problematic shift to the right and his presence across TV, radio and podcasts has obviously engaged a new audience, while Arbo's fertility struggles and pregnancy announcement earlier this year is a feel-good story that resonates. Okay, but none of that applies here. The submissions from the networks don't include all that guff. They put in submissions showcasing their presenters. And let me tell you, the submissions from the Today Show in this category were terrible. It was like they were put together at the last minute. There was no focus on the person being submitted. What they did is they put up a montage of the Bondi Massacre episode. So the Carl Stefanovic entry had Sarah presenting stuff and other reporters, and vice versa. Sarah's entry had Carl doing it and other presenters. I have no idea who the other judges were, but I can't believe they actually watched the submissions, because otherwise the Today Show would not have scored any nominations. I think they skimmed through the categories and just chose the people they liked. And maybe this journalist is right about why these other judges voted, but it's not meant to be this way. All of her arguments have no bearing on how we get to this list. But all those things the journalist talks about might be why the public choose to vote the way they vote, but it had nothing to do with the final nomination process. Now, I don't usually go down the conspiracy theory side that someone employed by Nine is out to discredit Seven's complaints, but with the amount of inaccuracies in this story, it's hard to think otherwise.
The best place to watch McKnight Tonight is on YouTube. Help us monetize the show by going to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. And you can always become a paid member. That gives you exclusive live streams and early access to videos. Just go to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight.